Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Valley Strong Credit Union, California Resources Corporation, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, and Kern High School District, with additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Do the Math. I'm Michael.
I'm April.
And I'm Cassidy. For homework, help call in Bakersfield 636-435-7-1-866-636-6284. Email dothemath@kern.org. We're online at dothemathonline.net. And on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
All right, nicely done. So Cassidy, where do you go to school?
At Subaru.
At Subaru? Mm-hmm. And what grade are you in?
4th grade?
Have you been at Subaru for a long time?
No.
This is your first year maybe then?
No.
But you've been there for a little bit.
Yeah.
How is 4th grade going at Subaru?
Good.
What's the best thing about 4th grade so far this year?
Math.
You like the math?
And the reading.
And the reading. Do you guys do chapter books or just a story a week kind of thing?
We do chapter.
And is there one that you like more than others this year so far?
Huh?
Is there a story that you like that you've done? What one do you like so far this year?
Dork Diaries.
The what diaries?
The Dork Diaries.
Dork Diaries? All right. You're familiar with these?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That may be some new thing. So are there a lot of books in this series, or is it just like a big one with a lot of chapters in it?
There's a lot.
There's a lot of stuff to it. All right, so the Dork Diaries. So you're a fan of those. And you like the math that you're doing in 4th grade. Do you like going to school longer? Because you go to school longer now that you're in 4th grade, right? Yeah. Are you all right with that? Yeah? All right, well, that's good. Because when you go to junior high, you're going to have to go a little bit longer. And when you go to high school, you have to go a little bit longer. And then if you happen to go to college, well, who knows what's going to happen then? Maybe sometimes you go and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're online, sometimes the professor cancels. Who knows what goes on? But anyway, are you ready to help me out with a math problem? Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a look at the problem of the day. This is the one that is posed on all different social media during the day, and people submit their answers. So Cassie and I are going to work through this together. So it says, which number is a factor of 18 and 48? So first of all, do you know what a factor is? Mm-hmm. What is a factor? How could you explain that? Or can you give me an example of a factor? But you've heard of factors. All right. So what do you think a factor would be as far as 18 and 48 are concerned? Do you see anything common with those?
No.
So let's just forget about factor for a minute, 18 and 48. If we had those two numbers, 18 and 48, is there anything common with those two numbers?
I'm not really sure.
Okay. Could it be safe to say they both end in 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 18 and 48, they both end in 8, right? Would it be safe to say that they're both even numbers? Because even numbers end in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, right? So we know that they both end in 8, and they're even numbers, okay? So let's go down to simpler numbers. If I had 6 and 8, okay, are there any numbers that can go into 6 and 8 evenly? Like, think about the numbers that can go into 6. What can go into 6? We know it's an even number, right? 6. So can a 2 go into it?
Yeah.
Because we can go 2, 4, 6, right? So 2 will go into 6. Can 2 go into 8?
No.
Well, think about it. Count by 2s. 2,
2, 3,
2, 4,
4,
6, 8.
8.
So 2 can go into both of them, right? All right. So let's take a look at 18 and 48. Do you think 12, the first answer, do you think 12 can go into 18 without going over? Like, because we know 12 times 1 is 12. Do you know what 12 times 2 is?
No, I don't.
That's 24. So that would be too high, wouldn't it? All right. Let's take a look at B. That says 8. Do you know the 8s? Can we count by 8s? 8.
8.
And then 8 times 2 is? Use your fingers if that's what it is, because I use my fingers too. Right? So 8 times 2.
$16.
There you go. 8 times 2 is 16, right? So 18 is our number. Do you think we could get another 8 in there? Or do you think we'll go over?
I think we'll go over.
One thing we'll go over, right? So I don't think 12 is going to work, and we don't think 8 is going to work. What about 6, option C? Do you know your 6s? So 6 times 1 is 6. What's 6 times 2?
6 times 2 is 14.
Close. 12, right? And remember, use your fingers if you need to, right? So 6 times 2 is 12. What about another 6? If we have 12 and we add 6 more, that would be the same as 6 times 3. So if we have 12 and we add 6 more, what would that be?
Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, 12 plus 6.
$18.
There you go, 18. And that's one of our numbers, isn't it, 18? Do you know your multiples of 6? How about if I have April help us out, right? So we go 6,
12,
12.
18, 24,
so 6 times 5 would be,
6.
yep, you got it.
say 11.
6 times 5 is
So we're at 24,
24.
right? And add 6 more.
$30.
30.
Right? So there you go. So we're on our way. So 6 we think is going to work because 6 times 8 is 48. And 6 times 3 is 18. Now what about 9? Do you know your 9s?
A little.
A little bit? What do you know about the 9s? So 9 times 1 is
9.
9. Do you know what 9 times 2 is?
Do you know there's a finger trick?
Do you know the 9 trick with the fingers?
So
April's
I
going
have
to
10
show
fingers,
you.
right? So 9 times 1, I'm going to put one finger down, 9. So 9 times 2, I'm going to put my second finger down, that's 1 and 8 for 18. 9 times 3, I'm going to put my third finger down for 2 and 7, 27.
Have you ever seen that?
No.
You have to be pretty dexterous with your fingers, too, to be able to do this like this. Otherwise, you're going to be going, all right, 9 times 2 is, I can't do it. Right. So anyway, so 9 times 5 is 45. And that's pretty close to 48. If we're at 45, do you think we can add 9 more, or will we go over 48?
I think we'll go.
You're going to go over 48, right? So 9's not going to work, and we already said 12 and 8 isn't going to work, so we're going to think that C is going to be our best option. What do you think, C?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look and see if we are correct with C. And C is the correct answer. There you go. First problem done. All right? You feel good about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, all right, old man, I kind of got what you were doing there, but not too much of it, but we'll go with C. All right. 636-4357 is the phone number. We do have phone tutors available most Tuesdays and Wednesdays afternoon between 3:30 and 5:30. And if you do need to email us a question, by all means you can do that. That email is at the bottom of your screen periodically throughout the program. Time now for today's Math in the News. All right, today's Math in the News, we are fortunate enough to have an old tutor with us. Not that she's old, but she was with us. Yeah, see, I was waiting for your face like that. I wanted to get a reaction out of you before I even had to talk to you. So Marty is with us. How are you today, Marty?
I'm so good, Mike. How are you guys?
I'm excellent.
Mike
Nice to see
April
you.
and Cassidy, you guys all look great.
Yeah, everybody's doing well, and you look as if you're doing well yourself.
And old. apparently.
Hey, look, we're all older now, right? So it was nice to see you at the math conference that was held here in Bakersfield. And where, because you were part of the Do the Math show, but where are you located now?
Yeah, I moved up to San Francisco. We opened up an all-girls STEM school 2 years ago. So we are in our second year, and we've got freshmen now, 9th graders and 10th graders. So we're kind of a small independent school, but it's very cool up here, kind of just doing our own thing. You know, like I get to create my own curriculum. I get to do improv. So all of my little, weird quirks and
I was
talents.
going to say
are
quirks, because we all
utilized.
have weird quirks about us all, right? We all have little things that we like to do. And I think it's important that you take all of the quirks and incorporate them into everything else that you do.
Right.
Right? The
Yes.
quirk doesn't have to be by itself, let's say.
No. Yeah, not at all. It's actually, I absolutely recommend it. So I have done, community theater and do the math shows. So I absolutely pull that into my classroom and into my curriculum and just try to have a whole lot of fun with these kids and trying to have a whole lot of hands-on math. We have a big innovation lab downstairs with laser cutters and 3D printers and a whole construction place, and we're integrating that as much as we can with the kids. So it's really great.
I know that you said that you come up, so you develop your own curriculum at this school. So kind of
Yes.
like what I do also with the students that I work with. So how do you get started with that? Because there are going to be instructors going, well, that's pretty cool that you get to come up with your own curriculum. So is there
Right.
a place that you have to start based on the grade level that you're working with, or is it just, tell us about your process.
Sure. Well, it was really great to have a lot of experience with the Kern High School District. I was writing curriculum with them for the last 5 or 6 years every summer. So that was really great, a wonderful jumping off point. I didn't have a test, how some schools have a diagnostic test before. I just started all the kids off in a course that I called Habits of Mind. And we basically focused on a whole bunch of different traits and characteristics that mathematicians typically have, like being curious, tinkering, asking questions, being skeptical, all these little things that usually are off to the side actually became the focus of the whole class. I was able to teach a whole bunch of math through it. We got through most of Algebra 1 and a bunch of geometry in real hands-on ways, but it was taught not to teach them the maths necessarily. It was to teach them the tools about how to be a mathematician, and what it looks like when you don't know how to do a problem, right? So, and I would often throw problems on the board that I hadn't necessarily solved yet, and we would kind of do it together, and we would model what that might look like for students or even mathematicians to get a problem that they haven't seen before, and some of the first steps they might do, ways they might get stuck and then unstuck and try something else, and really use the power of the actual classroom and your neighbors to discuss things and kind of tease the math out of it. I like to call it squeezing all of the math out of a problem before we move on. So there might be a problem that seems real simple to begin with, but by the end of it, we've done really high-level, complicated mathematics with it because we've just kind of pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and said, well, what if this? What if we changed that? You know, what if instead of giving a 5 in the beginning, we were given a -2? Like, what does that change? And that way you can really kind of tease out the learning in ways that kids feel safe and an exploratory way where the classroom doesn't feel performative, that you have to have the right answer, that you can actually just sit there and learn and make mistakes and be fine and grow. And so I had a lot of students come to me with like some dysgraphia, some dyscalculia, some dyslexia, and really being able to have a cool, calm, fun, experimental environment allowed them to just learn and be safe learning and grow confidence. And I think that was the biggest growth that I saw with my students, not just their math, but their confidence with math. They're asking for harder problems. They're like, when can we learn blah? Let's learn blah. Like, you know, let's do some calculus. I'm like, okay, sure, let's do it.
And it doesn't matter what grade
as much
level
as I
they're
can.
in, right? It's all the mindset that they've got. And if they're prepared to be able to tackle problems and look at them different ways and then listen to somebody else and the ideas that they've got, because a lot of times I actually tell my students the same thing. You can solve 5 problems a certain way, which is great. But if you can solve a problem 5 different ways, that's even got an advantage to it right there. And then being able to collaborate with other students and not having that feeling of, well, I didn't get it, so I don't know how to do it, so I'm just going to leave it. I think the same kind of thing is what you're doing with the girls there also.
Yeah.
And what is their take on this? Because I'm sure that a lot of them were raised doing math a different way in class, instead of saying, it's all right to fail and take a look at it again. And, well, a lot of times you hear professionals say, well, those weren't failures that I had, those were attempts that I had.
Yeah,
so how do
we've
the
actually
students deal with that?
Oh, they're doing great. Like, we've incorporated design thinking, so it's as opposed to even just saying you made a mistake, you're just like, that's your first iteration, right? You got to iterate. So if you're going to invent and design and create and see things differently than other people, then you're going to have to fail. Like, you can't create something new or innovate, and I would argue you can't learn without failure. So not even just saying it's not a bad thing or it's a good thing, even going beyond that and saying it's a necessary thing. If you don't fail or you're not struggling, then I'm not doing my job.
Right, you're not able to learn, because we talk to the kids. I mean, I've got 6th grade students, but then I talk to them, I go, do you know more than when you were in 1st grade? And they're like, oh yeah, we do. And I go, was it always easy? No, it wasn't. Well, it's going to be the same way as you get into junior high and high school and beyond. There's always going to be struggle, and it's important that they learn that struggle is necessary, as you just said, in order for them to learn. And when you were with the Kern High School District, that's when you first found out about Do the Math, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember what year that was? Around?
Oh, was that 2013?
And you were with us for a few seasons, correct?
Yeah, I think like 3 or 4, yeah.
Does anything come to mind that you remember offhand? You're like, wow, that was really cool when we did that, or that was funny, or wow, I remember that, and I don't want to remember that all the time.
Well, watching the intro and you guys solving and having Cassidy solve that problem was really cool. And at the end, it was like, yay, like the little kids. It's like, I remember that soundbite. But more in depth than that, I remember like we might have 5 or 10 minutes left in the show, and then the last call that comes through ends up being the most complicated, ridiculous problem that there's no way we can solve in 5 or 10 minutes. I remember just being like, okay, you know, let's do as much as we can right here, and then okay, sorry, bye, call me afterwards and we'll do it. Yeah.
Well, we've got a surprise for you right now. And I actually haven't even seen this clip either, but we do have a little clip of you. So let's take a look at it together, because I have no idea what we're going to see either, but the people in the back have put this together, so let's look at it. Only because it was...
Yay! Story time!
And we'll see if we can get you a nice hard problem now. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready. And then the width is 38?
32.
Oh, thank you. 32. Good catch. Whoops. Just kidding. Ah, blast. Take me back. Help,
Like
help.
that Roman numeral stuff, huh?
Where'd the Roman numeral go?
Easy, sister. Hold
Sorry.
on. Let me get you back there.
I keep doing that. It's the intermission right here, so. Nope. Did I delete it? I think I deleted it. How sad. Oh, wait. Can I go? No. Go. Ah, I figured it out.
There you go.
Yay, I win.
Looking back's always fun, huh?
Oh my gosh, I love the progression of my hairstyles.
But you know what? I'm just glad because they show clips of me when, we have Harlan and stuff like that, and I've got hair and goatee and stuff like that. But at least in that one, it seemed as though I was pretty bald the whole time.
You were. I don't remember you with hair, Mike, ever.
Yeah, but I
You've
always
got a great bald head, so it's just
remembered
fine.
you because you always had different color hair at different times, and it always added a little bit of color to the program, let's say.
If you will, yes. And now I have even
We
more
shall.
color, if you will, yes.
Well, we hope all the continued success for you up in the San Francisco area. And you said you've got 9th and 10th graders now?
We have 9th and 10th grade right now. Every year we kind of add on.
Okay. So will you be working with all 3 different grades, or do you stay with one grade, or you're kind of taking care of all the math for whoever's up there?
I'm the math teacher right now, yeah. So I'm kind of teaching all of it at this point. So, but we're kind of small. So we only have like 29 students. So yeah, my biggest class is like 15. So
All right. Well, you got to love that now while you can, because I'm sure with what you guys are doing, that school is going to continue to grow and grow and grow, especially the way you are approaching math. I'm sure that's all that's going to happen up there is that school is going to continue to grow, and we continue to wish success for you, and we do certainly enjoy all of your time that you had with us here and do the math, and we do appreciate that as well. We'll let you get back to work, and we're going to get Cassidy back to work. Marty, great seeing you. We'll talk to you soon. That's pretty fun, talk to Marty, huh? Do you like that purple hair?
Yeah.
Would you ever do that?
I don't know.
Maybe when you get a little older, you do some purple hair or something like that. What do you think if I put a wig on you? Purple wig on me? That'd be pretty. See, like,
Pretty funny.
well, maybe, huh? All right, let's get you guys back to work. So Cassidy,
go,
you and April are going to
Cassidy.
head on over to the board over there.
Come on with me, Cassidy.
And you guys said that you were working
Gonna
with
pick
some
up
fractions
either
and
10?
multiplying. So I've got some different problems here. And the first one, let's just go ahead and let's do number 5. So we have 2/4.
Want to write that? 2/4.
Times the whole number 10.
Times 10. So how are you going to think about 2/4 times 10? What's your first step? What strategy are you going to use?
I multiply 10
10 times?
times 2.
10 times 2, so you're going to multiply 10 times 2? And 10 times 2 is? So where do you get 4? How'd you get 4?
From the
Do you know what part of the fraction this is called?
I forgot.
Denominator.
The denominator,
And this is called the
numerator.
numerator. And so when you multiply 10, you only multiplied it by the numerator and not the denominator. Is there a reason for that?
I think so.
Okay. Do you happen to know what reason that is? I can change this 10 into a fraction. Do you know how to change a whole number into a fraction?
You add a 1
Where? In the,
the bottom.
yes, in the denominator. So go ahead and put a 1 in the denominator. So now you're multiplying your numerators and you're multiplying your denominators. Can you, do you want to stay at 24ths, or do you want to make that smaller? Or do you want to rename that and divide each number by the same number? So I can divide 20 by a number, and I can divide 4 by the same number, and I can rename 24ths into another number. Do you know what number that might be?
No.
Okay. Do you know how many times 4 goes into 20? How many groups of 4 are there in 20?
Here's an idea. How about, April, draw 20 dots or slashes up there, and then regroup them into groups of 4, and that might be one way to take care of that also. Be happy I gave you 20 over 4 instead of 48 over 6 or something like that. So-
Thank you. So I'm looking for groups of 4. So can you make circle groups of 4 for me? So take 4 tally marks and circle them. Then let's count how many groups we have.
There's 4 groups.
Count them again. Count them out loud.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How many groups?
5.
5. So if I divide 20 by 4, what's that going to give me?
5.
5. So that's going to equal. You could make another equal sign right here. That's going to equal 5.
Good. So now that you've got that first one under the belt, let's erase that. We'll do one more real quick.
Let's just go here. Oh, did it, sorry.
So we have 3 over 6, 3, 6,
6.
3 over 6, times the whole number 2.
So talk to me, Cassidy. What are we going to do now?
We're going to multiply 3 times 2
Because
because
both of those numbers are where?
numerator.
Yeah, so if this is a fraction, can you make this a fraction for me? They're both in the numerator, then what?
Then
Well, what is 3 times 2? Let's go ahead and write that.
3 times 2 is 6.
6.
And 6 times 1 is 6.
So that's going to be 6 divided by, put a fraction bar. Put a fraction bar under here because I wrote my numerator, now I have to write my denominator. So 6 times 1 is
6 times 1 is 6.
6. So go ahead and write a 6. And what is 6 divided by 6? Can you rename that? We can use the same strategy. Draw 6 tallies really quick. So how many groups of 6 do we have?
2.
Circle your group of 6. How many are in that group?
3.
3. We're looking for a group of what?
You made that problem disappear like Marty did. All right, I brought it back for you.
Thank you. So how do I just undo this part?
Let me get rid of the 0 for you, or the circle.
Okay, that's what I want to undo.
There you go.
Okay, that's what I was trying to undo. Okay, so you circled a group of 3, but I want groups of 6.
Oh.
So let's check to see how many groups of 6 we have.
I did that by accident.
Okay, how many groups of 6 do we have?
1.
What? So 6 divided by 6 is?
1.
Okay. Can I show you 1?
Oh.
There you go. Perfect.
Nicely done. So Cassidy, 6 divided by 6 is 1. So just remember, anything divided by the same number is always going to be 1. So what's 2 divided by 2?
1.
What's 4 divided by 4?
1.
What's 6 divided by 6?
1.
What's
What?
500 divided by
Yeah, I
500?
was going to say.
500 divided by 500.
Oh, 1.
What's a million divided by a million?
1.
All right, you passed the test. All right, nicely done. 636-4357 is that phone number. We do have phone tutors available until 5:30. We'll be back with more right after this.
It all started with a TV show, Silence of the Bees, about honeybee populations in steep decline. Electrical engineers Guyan Wee and Rob Wood at Harvard University saw a challenge. And so began the creation of the Robo-Bee, a miniature flying robot.
Nothing is off the shelf, and so we have to develop all of the physical components from scratch. So all of the things like how are they going to talk to each other, coordinate all the algorithms for having a colony of them work together. In this setup is where we do all of our flight tests.
Wood put together a diverse team of collaborators to get the Robo-Bee project off the ground.
The Expeditions Computing Program is looking for, new architectures for computing, new ways of thinking about different important problems in computer science.
One challenge, to design the tiny folding exoskeleton that houses the bee's wings, motors, and electronics.
Inspired in a lot of ways by children's pop-up books, where we can take a variety of different materials and layer them up and laminate them together.
Wee heads up the team that's developing the intricate multitasking computer chip brain.
We have different regions of the chip responsible for different things. We also have an electronic nervous system within the bee brain that tells it to flap its wings.
Power is another issue. If the fuel source is too heavy, the bee can't fly.
We have a collaborator that's making microfuel cells that should be much better than the batteries that we're putting together.
There's so much that goes into just achieving what bees in nature just seem to do without any effort.
Now they're hoping to build a colony of interacting robo-bees. There will be no need for a queen bee, but they do plan to design a hive that will be used as a refueling station. One day, a swarm of these micro-robots could be deployed to search for victims after a disaster, for example. And even though that would be years away, Wood says the advancements they've made so far are already creating quite a buzz. For Science Nation, I'm Miles O'Brien.
Pretty awesome, a robotic bee. What do you think about that, Brienne?
Very cool.
You like that, huh? Robotic bee. So, Brienne, thank you for coming in to visit us here on Do the Math.
Thank you for having me.
And we have had you as part of the program before.
Yes.
But you have not been in studio with us before.
No, this is my first time in studio.
All right. So, for people that don't remember all of the other times you've been on, what is your occupation?
I am a beekeeper.
You're a beekeeper. So, what do you think about the robotic bee?
I think we need real honeybees out there.
All right, well, good. I fully agree with you, but we wanted to save that one for when you were in here to see what you kind of thought it was on the robotic bee. So as a beekeeper, for kids that are like, oh yeah, I've kind of heard of a beekeeper and I see bees around and occasionally I see hives and stuff like that. What does a day look like for you as a beekeeper?
Most of my day is tending to honeybees, maintaining their health, and we chase blooms. Oftentimes it is your agriculture crops, and I think the main focus of the job is pollinating crops.
Okay, and there's a lot of crops in Bakersfield and Kern County, so you've got nonstop places to go.
Yeah.
If you're chasing crops.
Yeah. The San Joaquin Valley is filled with a ton of crops. We grow everything from almonds to your oranges, alfalfa, cotton, a number of crops out here.
And they need honeybees.
Yes.
Now, what is the difference between a honeybee and a bumblebee?
Honeybee makes honey, whereas the bumblebee is more of a solitary bee, and the honeybees are a whole bunch of bees kind of working as a single organism.
Are there other types of bees?
Yes, there's a ton of different types of bees,
and
yes.
So, kid that might be watching is like, so what are some of the other types of bees that they might be familiar with or need to be familiar with?
I think two other bees that are my favorite are our leafcutter bees. They are local. They're fun to watch. They leave little circles in our leaves. They love my bougainvillea. Another one that I would love to work with, but I've never been fortunate enough to, would be our stingless honeybees. They're very tiny, and they do make honey. But they're a stingless honeybee.
Stingless honeybee.
Yes.
So that's kind of like the seedless orange that's easy to peel, right? I mean, same kind of thing. It's like, oh, let's develop these things so that they're easier and stuff like that. So the stingless honeybee still helps to produce honey.
Very little, very, very little. It's
Okay.
not like the European honeybee that we use for our crops.
All right, so let's talk about the European honeybee. It's all led by a queen.
Yes.
right? You need the queen, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the queen.
Okay, the queen is roughly 20% bigger than the rest of the honeybees inside. She is also laying around 2,000 eggs a day.
2,000 eggs a day.
A day, on average, during her peak, yes, of the springtime.
Okay, so this is peak time.
Yes, this
All right.
is peak time.
So does it have to be, is it just springtime, or does there need to be a temperature also involved with that? I know because spring is getting warmer, but let's say like we've had a lot of rain lately and it's been a little bit cooler than what it might usually be. Does that postpone things, or is just the time of the year, this is when it's going to happen?
No, it does postpone things a little bit. Honeybees need around 55 degrees for flight, so that's when that's when we really see a lot of bees out working those blooms.
So when it's under 50 degrees, you shouldn't expect to see bees flying around.
Very, very little. They might come out to get a quick drink or to maybe use the restroom, but then they're back in.
Stop with the going out to use the restroom. Are you serious?
Yes, they even wipe their feet before they enter.
All right, so let's continue with the queen. So she's laying all of these eggs. She's the one, you need the queen for everybody else to produce.
Yes, yes. And their natural way to reproduce is one queen lays another queen, and then the new queen will roughly take off with about 60% of the colony, and then that's how they divide. Annually, one queen can lay anywhere between a half a dozen to dozen queens in 1 year, just depending on her size.
And the hive looks kind of like this, right?
Yes, this is our commercial bee boxes. There are different styles, but this is what you'll see out along the almond orchards here in Kern County.
Right, because you see them and usually they're stacked or there's a big pile of them and stuff like that.
Yes.
Is it based on the person in charge of that crop? They say, this is what I need, or you work with them and go, well, based on whatever many acres you have or whatever it is that you're growing, this is what you need.
Yes, yes. For example, almonds tend to take anywhere between 1 to 3 hives per acre.
Okay.
Yes.
And when a child is thinking beehive, they're thinking of a specific shape when they think of this also, right? And where the
Yes.
honey is, and I think that's the frame that you've got up right now. Is that
Yes.
the one that, okay, so can you talk a little bit about that? Because there's math in that also.
Yeah, this is a close-up picture of honeycomb, and the reason why they build this shape is because it holds the most amount of volume in the smallest amount of space. And they excrete the wax from little glands in their abdomens, and they're little tiny flakes. And they take the warmth from their body and they vibrate it and they mold it to this specific shape. Every little shape is molded.
And every bee participates or puts what they're putting in there, and it doesn't matter who was there before. It's all just going, or does each one have their...
All the jobs inside the colony are all ranked by age. So depending on how old you are depends on what job that you are doing inside the hive.
And how old can a honeybee be?
On average, they live to around 30 to 45 days, so the honeybee itself doesn't live very long, but a queen will live anywhere between 1 to 5 years.
Okay. So they're coming in, and that's the most efficient shape for them to use.
Yes.
And are bees the only pollinators to do this?
No, we've got lots of other pollinators. We've got birds, bats, moths, and some wasps.
So would they do the same thing as the honeybees in a hive like this, or I mean, they go and they pollinate and stuff. Where are they producing like honeybees?
No, they don't. They might take back a little bit of nectar depending on what kind of pollinator they are, but they don't actually take the nectar and make the honey like the honeybees do.
So they're just transferring?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the honeybees actually, they've got honey stomachs and they swap it back and forth, and essentially honey is honeybee throw up.
Yummy. So we're learning all sorts of cool stuff with you today about bees and things like that. So when the bees die, 45 days, they're just a bunch of dead bodies at the bottom of the hive? Are they around the hive? I mean, they go off someplace and die, and they go out to the restroom and stuff, so they go off and die somewhere?
If they do die in the hive, there is what is called, I like to call them as undertakers, and if there is a death inside the colony, they drag them out.
So is there a case where a bee might get a hold of a plant and it doesn't agree with them, let's say?
Yes.
What would happen?
It depends.
wreck the whole thing, or does it just affect that bee at that time?
It depends on what they bring in. There are some pollens that are poisonous to a hive. There are some that can make them feel kind of intoxicated, and both of those, we try to avoid as beekeepers.
No 45 days for that bee. You're looking at like 5 days, right? You got your time, you didn't use it wisely right there.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit more about some more of the math of this. So I know you've got a lot of different frames in here.
Yes.
Is there one or two that you want to pull out that we can be like, hey, that's pretty cool? And
Yeah, I think the pictures of the queen bees in here. Let's see. Oh, swarming. This is something that we're seeing right now. So right now swarming is a big one that we're seeing here. In the county, right now swarms are very big. Oftentimes we see them in a ball of bees hanging from a tree branch or the corner of a home or someplace high, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, how they reproduce. And when you see bees swarming, they are scouting for a new cavity to move inside of. Oftentimes we hear folks saying, just leave them be, and that's what we want them to do. The queen is stopping to rest, and they're on their way to their new cavity.
instead of agitating them, and then they go after you, and then
Yes.
you're going to get stung, unless you happen to have those stingless bees around. So is the queen in her court on the backside of this? Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, yes. And here's the queen in her court. We don't all number our queens, but here this one is. And it helps identify her inside a colony. But here's the queen. She's roughly 20% bigger. And these are all of her female worker bees, which is her court here. And then I did see a picture of our swarm, which I think is on the other side of this. Oh, no. Here we go. Here's another good one. This is the life cycle of a bee.
I was going to say, this is how they start off, right?
Yeah. But here's the queen egg that we were talking about. She lays roughly 2,000 of those a day. And this looks to be, actually, it kind of looks like a drone here. I'm not for sure. It could be a worker bee. It's pretty close up. But here we have the whole process and the metamorphosis. And then this is right here before they hatch. They chew the wax capping off, and their first job is to clean their cell.
Clean your cell and fill it.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long, you've been working with bees for a while now.
Yes.
And how many different places do you have bees at right now?
Right now, they're kind of scattered throughout. I've got some up in Popular. Most of my bees are on orchards right now for almonds. And then we've got a few smaller apiaries scattered here in Kern County. But most of them are from Popular all the way down.
And bees are more essential to our lives than most people probably think.
Yes.
We need bees more than probably a lot of other animals, insects, whatever,
Yes.
on this earth, because if there were no bees, life as we know it would quickly be altered.
Yes, it would be very altered. 1 in 3 bites of food that we eat in a day is produced because of the
bee.
honeybee. Yes, and they too depend on us. The honeybees themselves are struggling with how toxic the environment is, and we as beekeepers work very hard to keep them healthy so that they can continue to pollinate the crops that we love.
So people should not be afraid when they see bees, but a lot of times they're swatting and trying to kill things like that.
Yes.
But in most cases, if you just kind of leave them alone,
Leave
within
them
a matter
alone.
of seconds or two, they'll probably be gone anyway.
Yes, they're very important. Leave them alone. They do a lot of work for us.
Indeed, they do. Anything else that you think a student needs to know about bees before I let you go here? Because we've covered a lot right now.
Yes,
and I
we
wanted to get
have.
across the importance of how important bees are to humans.
I think a cool fact is a good-sized swarm will roughly hold around 30,000 bees, and that can be a lot of bees for some folks. I've seen swarms as big as a car. I've seen some as small as a football, and I've seen them as big as a car. But on average, they're about 30,000, and they tend to be about the size of a
I
basketball.
don't need to see a swarm of bees the size of a car.
I've seen it here in town. I've seen it.
I'm glad you've seen it, and I wasn't there with you on that day. Anyway, website for you if somebody wanted to learn a little bit more about what you do and bees in general. What would that be?
My website is kerncountybees.com.
All right, easy enough. Well, thank you for coming in, taking some time, teaching us about bees and all of the activities of the queen. And I didn't realize that they had such a short-lived life. 2 months is big time for them, right?
Yeah, it is a big time. But with her laying 2,000 eggs a day, the population just reproduces itself pretty quickly.
That's a lot of work, 2,000 eggs a day right there. Anyway, and funny about the going out and using the restroom, wiping their...
They're very hygienic.
Nice to see it. We'd like to have nice, clean bees, right?
Yes.
And there is a difference in flavors, right? I almost forgot about this because somebody goes, oh, well, that honey tastes a lot different than a different type of honey.
Yes.
And that's a local thing based on where they're getting...
Yes, whatever they're on. Yes, I always tell folks, if you don't like honey, you just haven't tried a honey that you like. Every time you taste it, it tastes different, even if it's on the same crop. Year to year, our orange blossom honey tastes a little bit different, and it makes it fun.
So the biology of all of this is pretty important because, how many different types of honey can come out of, because you've got a lot of different crops around.
Yes, yes.
So you might be getting different things in the same hive.
Yeah, sometimes on the same frame of honey. So if I've taken them from orange blossom, and we move from orange blossom, and let's say I left some of the orange blossom honey in, and then they go to alfalfa and cotton. Sometimes on the same frame, I'll have all three. And you can see the color differences in
Okay,
them.
I was going to say, how do you tell the difference in that? But you can tell by the color.
Yes, and I can tell by the taste as well. So if I stick my finger in it, I can taste the alfalfa. If I taste the orange, I can taste the orange blossom. If I am lucky enough to get a real floral neighborhood with a lot of roses, sometimes I can kind of taste a hint of rose. That's my favorite. But yeah, you can definitely taste.
You just do that all day?
Yep, all day.
Check it out, see what that's like?
All day.
So you love the honey.
I do.
All right, well, thank you.
And it's good for you.
I'm sure it is good for you. And you know what? You didn't bring any honey with you?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
How
gosh,
dare
I can't believe. You know what? You're going to have to send some honey over here and we'll do a little taste test ourselves.
I am going to. I'm going to.
I like that clean honey too. I'm only kidding.
I can't believe I
Anyway,
forgot the
Brianne,
honey.
thank you for coming in this afternoon. We'll be back with more right after this. just fascinating. Earth as art, math as art also. So Cassidy is a 4th grade student from Subaru, and you like math and you like the reading that you're doing in 4th grade so far. Were you able to see any of those pictures of the Earth that we're just showing right there?
Yeah,
Did you like any of those?
some of them.
Some of them? I was looking at those and I was thinking, wow, it's amazing the shots that you can get from outer space. And I immediately thought of, when I saw some of those, fractals, right? Because you've got the same shape kind of repeating and getting smaller and smaller and being stretched out. And there's a whole lesson on fractals that you'll do, I'm sure, when you're in junior high, but I'm most certain that when you get into high school, you'll be studying a little bit about fractals. And if you want to learn about them even before that, when you go home after we're through with the show, you can look up fractals and you'll be amazed at all the different designs and things like that. Sound good? Mm-hmm. All right. How you feeling? Pretty good so far?
Yeah, I feel
That was
good.
pretty cool stuff about the bees, didn't you think?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a beehive out anywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like honey?
Not really.
Not really? I know there's a lot of people, either you like honey or you don't, or you always have it around or you don't, but I was intrigued by the flavors of honey. I just thought honey's honey, it kind of tastes the same and stuff like that. But it makes sense based on what they're around. It's going to have a little bit of that flavor right there. So 636-4357 is the phone number. We do have phone tutors available Tuesdays and Wednesdays throughout most of the school year. Programming note, though, for you, next week is the final week of live broadcast for Do the Math for Art's 21st season. We'll be back once again. September hits, but we will be wrapping up season number 21 next week on Wednesday the 29th, I do believe that is. 29th of March? 22nd today? Let me look. Yeah, there we go. All right. I get a ding. For once out of 21 years, I get a correct answer right there. All right. Oh, easy now with the buzz. That kind of quick on that there, son. Hey, the buzzing the old man. All right. Let's move on from this. We have more work for Cassie to do. So you and April are going to go over to the board. We're going to take a look at this, and you guys are going to work on it together. But in order to come up with an answer for this, you're going to need to know a little bit of vocabulary. All right? So it says my digits are the same. So we don't know how many there are, but we know there's at least 2 of them, or it could be 3 or 4. Their sum is 3 less than their product. Who am I? So I think the key vocabulary, Cassidy, is going to be sum and product. So why don't you and April talk about what those 2 words mean, and then see if you can come up with an idea on how to figure out what this number is. All right?
Let's start with sum. Do you know what sum is?
Yeah.
So what do you think sum is? Like if I'm finding the sum, what math operation will I use? Or can you give me an example of finding the sum?
I think he used division.
Okay, so if I gave you 1 and 2, and I say find the sum of 1 and 2, would you add, would you subtract, would you multiply, or would you divide?
Multiply?
Multiply? Okay, so I've got sum, I've got difference, and then I've got product, and I've got quotient. So each one of these words represents, 1 will represent addition, 1 will be subtraction, 1 will be multiplication, and then 1 will be division. So let's do a little match really quickly. What do you think sum might be? Or what do you think, which operation do you think goes with these, if you think about the math that you do? Do you know what any of these are automatically? Do you mind if I give you one?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I find the quotient, I'm going to divide. Okay? So I don't need that one. Actually, sorry. So I'm going to divide. So what if I am trying to find the product? What do you think I might do?
Multiply?
Multiply. So we got that. If I'm going to find the difference, what do you think I might do?
Subtract?
Subtract. So in order to find the sum, what do you think we should do?
Addition.
Add. So sum is addition, and we don't need this one. So sum is addition, and product is
Multiplication.
multiplication. So that's all we're going to need right now, right? The sum and the product, right? Do you know what a digit is?
No.
A digit is a number 1, 0 through 9. So I have 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9. Okay? So this says my digits are the same. Okay? Their sum is 3 less than their product. Who am I? So if your digits are the same, what does that mean? Like, can you give me an example of a set of digits that are exactly the same?
Let's start with 22, 2, and try that.
Okay, so digits are the same, right? If I add 2 and 2, what will that give me?
4.
4. And if I multiply 2 times 2, what will that give me?
4.
4. So will that work? Because the
That's
sum
not
and the
gonna work.
product are the same.
So let's try 3 and 3.
So let's do 3 and 3. So 33, my digits are the same. If I add 3 plus 3, what will that give me?
6.
6. And if I multiply 3 times 3, what will that give me?
9.
9. So if I look at the product and the sum, are they, is one 3 less than the other?
Yeah.
Yes. And then...
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what
So
it
the
is.
sum is 3 less than the product, so the number
so the
is
digit is...
33. All right, nicely done. So, come on over here real quick, Ask Cassidy. So, did you learn a little something today?
Yeah.
Good. I think you brought a special guest with you today too, right? Who is that over there?
My dog Pochi.
That's your dog Pochi, huh? And how old is that dog? It looks pretty young. Do you know how old the dog is?
3 months.
3 months old. And you sleep with Pochi and visit with Pochi all the time? Take care of Pochi? All right, good. Did you have a little bit of fun today? That's what I wanted to hear right there. And until we meet again, continue to do the math.
Major support for Do the Math has been provided by Chevron, the Kern County Superintendent of Schools, Edison International, Valley Strong Credit Union, California Resources Corporation, Panama Buena Vista Union School District, and Kern High School District, with additional production assistance provided by these supporters of education in Kern County and throughout the state of California.